Okay. Hello, everyone. It's really good to see you all. And there are a couple new faces here. So just for those new faces, because there are a couple faces with whom we are well acquainted. I'm Marilyn Turkovich, the Executive Director of the Charter for Compassion. And we sponsor these chats once a month or so, just so people can get to know one another in our regional areas, and also to let you know what's happening with the Charter for Compassion, and to also just see how we might be of service to all of you. So I'm wondering if we can start with people who are seasoned to the charter, and just let people know where you're from and a little bit about what's happening in your world with the charter. And for some of the new people, I understand that that's not going to be something you can easily talk about. But Mary Catherine, I'm going to pick on you first.
Well, it's good to be back and see everybody, and see those I know and see those I've not met yet. So that's nice. I'm in Edinburgh, Mary Catherine Burgess in Edinburgh. My accent tells you that I'm really from Iowa and Nebraska in the United States, but I've been here for about 20 years. In terms of what's been going on, a few years ago, I was working with trying to get Compassionate Edinburgh. That's kind of a little bit on hold, but what I'm aware of right now is that I'm in a building complex that has discovered they need an entire all kinds of stuff done to the room, to the building, and there are 12 owners. I'm not an owner, my partner is, but what I'm finding is that I feel as if I'm taking Compassionate Edinburgh down to the Nats, right down to the middle, to the ground, because I'm facilitating the owners meetings. And I've been the one trying to help get some of the funding from Edinburgh, from the Edinburgh World Heritage. So we've got a lot of stuff to work out, but it's like it's right down on the ground. And that's where the rubber hits the road. And so I'm doing the best I can, and some of that's really, really good, and some of it I'm sure I'll stumble over and whatever, but all in all, I think I'm exactly where I need to be.
Great. Thank you, Mary Catherine. I thought Magdalene was there, and I think she just disappeared.
No,
Oh, you are there?
I am here, but I don't, my video isn't starting. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, we'll pretend that we're in old radio days. So why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what's happening?
Oh dear. Yes, I'm Magdalene Socrani, and I live just outside Oxford City in a small village. Actually, it's a very ancient village. It has an ancient heart, but it is a very modern community. And I've been here now 3 years, and I'm valuing everything about the way in which things have been ongoing in this little village for years and years and years, centuries, in fact. On the broad front, I made inroads with the City of Oxford Council Chamber and addressed them twice in their splendiferous town hall, but to try and encourage them to think about accepting the nomination of Compassionate City. They are already see themselves as a city, a sanctuary, and a fair trade city. They have numerous connections with other cities around Europe. So I thought that it would be marvelous if all the partners, including Grenoble and Leiden in Holland and all sorts of wonderful places across Europe and the Middle East could all join together and become cities of compassion. But anyway, that I had a year off last year, and I'm just getting back to things at the moment.
Great, thank you, Magdalene.
Thank you.
Well, let's take a Charlotte. Why don't we start with you? You're from Plymouth.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, Plymouth in Devon in the UK. And I know there's some bits going on and I'm not up to date locally. So I saw this morning on my email and thought I'd register and come and sit and listen in. So I know that Tam with Hope in the Heart had done some bits, and I think there's something with the Zebra Collective in the city and a few other names. So I'm here to learn and listen and then go back to my immediate community to find out more. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Derek.
Yes, hi folks. Like our last speaker, I'm here to primarily listen. I'm the chair of the British chapter. I'm currently in London. I'm chair of the British chapter of the International Association for Religious Freedom, which I think adopted the charter. And Karen Armstrong spoke at one of our global congresses, either 2008, 2010, a long time ago, maybe 12, maybe it was 12 or, yeah.
Probably around 12.
Yeah, 12, yeah. Where we had people from all Japan, US, all around India, all around the world. I'm also the former chief officer of the General Assembly of Unitarian and Free Christian Churches.
Yeah.
I retired in 2019, and our General Assembly also adopted the charter.
Mm-hmm.
So our IARF office got an email about this event, and we're a bit bemused. I think the current administrator probably wasn't around at the time. And he sent an email out to see if anyone would be willing to come to this meeting to find out what it was all about. So I'm here, I'm pleased to see everyone. I'm on a mobile phone at the minute. I hope you can hear. I can't see everyone.
You're coming through nicely.
So I'm surprised to see these people from the Great Britain already on before me.
Well, it's only the UK hub that we're having this conversation with.
Right.
Just to keep you all up front about news, we have a newsletter that goes out every single week. And so please check your spam. And we've been doing that for years. And so often people will be like, oh, we got a newsletter, which is totally understandable. And we will take a few minutes today to talk about some of the things that are ongoing right now with the Charter for Compassion. Derek, where are you located?
I'm in London.
In London. Okay, great.
I live in central London, yeah.
Okay. Is it Jesnia?
Hello, hi, it's Christina.
Would you say your name?
Christina. Can you hear me okay?
Not real well. I think you are on two separate devices, and that might be the reason that we might not be hearing you so well. So are you on your computer and on your phone?
I am, yes. I'm trying to figure out how to access sound. So you can't hear me very well, can you?
Oh no.
You're very muffled, and so and we see you on your phone. So my suggestion would be is for you to shut down your computer connection, and that probably will allow us to hear you better.
Sokolovska.
While you're doing that, I think that
Okay.
Muffled.
Yeah, we're getting feedback because of you being on two devices. Okay.
That's it.
It's disconnected.
Okay,
Is this working okay?
I hope
is.
so, yes. So,
I'm really sorry, I'm on my mobile, but I could hear you, I could see you better on the computer, but I've switched to
I
it off now.
understand. I just wasn't sure how to pronounce your name. Jesnia?
It's
Or-
Justina. Justina.
Justina, okay, good. And I saw when you were on the computer, you have a really solid Polish name. But
Yes,
now
I
it's
do.
gone, and
So I'm based in Cambridge, and I'm fairly new here. So I was in a meeting maybe a year ago because I was researching compassion in educational leadership. And I've just finished my master's. I'm very interested in what the Charter does. Obviously, I'm very aware of all the activities. I'm on the newsletter, but it's only my second meeting. So very happy to be here and more in a sort of listening capacity.
okay, great. Thank you for coming. And Hyacinth, an older face, not an older face, a face that we're used to. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Hi, everybody. My name's Hyacinth. I'm also based in London. I have been doing some work with the Charter for Compassion for about the last 3 years, I think, maybe, or 4. And I signed the charter a number of years ago, actually, because I met Tam, Charlotte, as well, from Plymouth, yeah. So she came down to London and done some workshops, and that's where I first heard about the charter. I'm actually doing work with the Gender Partnerships team, the women and girls. And my passion is really compassion. I work really with women, and I just kind of bring compassion in, and I just really just talk about the Charter for Compassion actually to anybody that I know. So I've been quite slow. The last few months have been quite slow for me, just slowing down just naturally anyway. So I'm just, interested to find out what's happening and what I can get involved with a bit more and get my teeth into the meat of the bones now. Yeah, so that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Merida?
Okay, so I'm Merida McCarthy. I'm British by birth. My parents are British, but I actually live in Monterrey, Mexico. And I am program coordinator for the Charter for Compassion. So all those emails that you get are from me. And if I made a mistake, I apologize. But which I did on the last one, but I managed to correct it in time. And so here I am, and very happy to meet you all. Looking forward to show you what we're doing and see where you can all fit in this giant puzzle of compassion.
Great. And Claire, it's so good to see you. We were just introducing ourselves, so you're the last person. And your mic is off.
There we go. Sorry. I was a bit flustered. I've been on the whole time, so I've listened to everybody,
Oh,
but
okay.
I was driving, so I've literally just planted myself home. So I'm Claire Clements from Positively Empowered Kids, a social enterprise based in Nottingham in the UK. We are all about raising conscious change makers. So we work with children to empower them. We work with parents who are conscious and compassionate. We've been on a number of different Charter for Compassion calls and introduced ourselves a number of times over the past couple of years, and work with Sue Cooper. And we're kind of looking at, the child-friendly city, how we can become a compassionate city, and just excited to be part of the bigger picture.
Great. Well, I already introduced myself at the very beginning. My name is Marilyn Turkovich, and I am in the United States, though I am very close to the Canadian border on the west end of the country, very close to Vancouver, Canada. And I have been with the Charter for a number of years. And one of the things that we have these chats. Today we're chatting with the UK, and later in the day for us, we'll be chatting with New Zealand, who will be in another day. And later this week, we'll be chatting with Australia and with the United States even. So that we just have these chats to let people know what's going on. And I thought that maybe one of the things that I could do is to share some of that by just simply having a few slides here that might just give a visual representation. One of the things that I think in some of the introductions people have mentioned, like Hyacinth did, with working with women and girls, which is part of our gender partnership. And then Hyacinth well, she was the one who mentioned that. But then in education, Claire has done work with us on our education forum. So the way that the charter is structured is that we have two, I think, prominent issues that we work with. One is to try and help cities who want to be more responsive to the needs of the city. And if that means that a grassroots team can work together to address some of those issues, then they can also try and work with local government to declare a compassionate city. But all of our work is divided into these 12 sectors, starting with cities themselves, and then with issues around restorative and social justice, social services, the way that a community interacts with the needs of the locale, whether that might be with homelessness or with issues of food scarcity, even health issues to a certain extent. And then I mentioned gender partnerships, science and research. And then, I'm sorry, in yellow here, it's not so easy to read, but this is our RISE sector, which is religion, interfaith, spirituality for the earth. And then our arts and media section, business, education, I mentioned already, environment, peace, and healthcare. So those are our sectors. And one of the things that we have tried to do within the last 5 or so months is we've created a map, and we call it the map of co-creators. And our hope is that every single one of you, I know Mary Catherine is on the map already, very possibly others in this group, but it's an opportunity to look at who we are in the global community, and importantly, to find out where our passion is. You know, we say that our passion might be compassion, meaning that we're trying to bring some action into our work. But at the same time, it might be in any one of those sector areas that I just talked about. It might be in health and well-being. It might be in promoting education, or dealing with religious issues. The other thing over the last 6 months that we've spent a good amount of time constructing is our grassroots wisdom book. Claire is in there with Positively Empowered Kids. And the idea behind the wisdom book is to take a segment of what we're doing in the world that someone else might say, oh my gosh, that is an incredibly good idea. And maybe we can take that idea and change it to meet who we are in the area of the world in which we live. I'm going to let pro-social go for a minute and maybe come back to it. But one of the things, you know, if I was someone came up and said, what's happening with the charter? I would say that right now we're involved in 2 40-day events, both having started about the same time. One is 40 Days of Peace, which is to commemorate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King and to promote it as a global idea. Because one of King's last book, which was not issued until 10 years after his death, basically talked about where do we go from here. And, he in that book really encouraged us to look at what he called the evils that surround us. One was racism, another was poverty, and the third one was militarism. And so for 40 days, every single day. So if you go to the website, and I'm quite certain that Merida is putting in all kinds of links for you. But if you come to our website, you'll see that every single day we have something going on to address those concerns and how they're being addressed in a very positive way. And we have contributions from India, from Australia, Canada, as well as the United States. So that's one thing that's happening with the charter. Another thing, 40 days again, and that is Feast of the Soul. And that's a positive reflection and helping us to look at the good that meditation can promote in our lives. And it's also an opportunity to spend some time with a real array of people. I did a presentation with Feast of the Soul, as I think Eric, you did too, on Saturday. And the idea on Saturday was to look at the concept of beloved community. How is it that we can really work towards being of service to one another in our communities? And it was just a really positive experience. Again, people from all over the world, but I think primarily probably within the UK. So that's another thing that's happening. And we're getting ready for something called 23-Day Campaign of Compassion. And we started that last year, and it's working with some of our partners to, again, have something every single day that has a reflection to it, has sometimes content associated with it, but most importantly, action. Like, what are some of the actions that we could be taking, small things that will lead us to the culmination of those 23 days on April 15th, not April 15th, April 5th, which is Golden Rule Day. And for 5 years now, we have done an event, online event, that includes work of our partners and music and just a real opportunity to look at what's going on in the world that's positive. So that's something another thing that's happening. For those of you who have access to schools, to teachers, and even to parent groups, one of the things that we're starting in February, and I'm guessing that it's February 15th, I should have had that available, but it's in our newsletter. We are doing a 5-part series with Emory University's C Learning. And C stands for Social Emotional Learning. And this particular program is part of the Dalai Lama's legacy to the world to help education understand the need for empathy, compassion, and kindness. It is not a staid curriculum that you have to find a place inside what you're already offering in a classroom, but it's an opportunity for teachers and students to understand neuroscience in a new way, to understand why it is that we react the way that we do. And as I said, this 5-part introductory series, 90 minutes for each one of them, is taking place from February through May. And then we're going to have a little break and people can consider, is this something that we want to do in our schools? And if it is, what the charter is looking for is that we want teams of people to go in to train the trainer. The whole beginning part of this is free, and it's an opportunity to really change the climate and the interaction that goes on in schools. And there are tens of thousands of students now who are experiencing with their teachers C-learning. So the Train the Trainer program starts in November, on November of this year, and it goes to May of 2024. So it's a commitment of time, but it is a commitment where a school, for example, it would be wonderful. This is our dream, that we can get 2 to 4, even 5 teachers in a school to take C-learning so that they can become the trainers of it within their whole institution. And then not only in their local school, but perhaps neighboring schools, so that we can flip what is the number of people. Right now, we have probably about just 3 trainers who have gone through the whole C-learning, but we're looking for that to expand even more. So that, please get the word out as much as you can about C-learning. Well, there is so much more, and I don't want to, you might feel like, there's a fire hose on you. And so I don't want you to feel so overwhelmed, but I would love to talk a little bit about compassionate cities as well. And maybe just give some tips around compassionate cities. The most important thing is to have a team. And the team is a local team. It's people who starting out who are thinking like-mindedly, because that really bolsters your approach. And then once you begin to have the conversation around what is a compassionate city in this particular community? What are the issues that need to be addressed? It might be an issue of young people, for example, here in the United States. If a person is in a foster care situation, when they're 18, all of the money, all of the support goes away. Many of those young people find themselves homeless, in a homeless situation. So for many communities in the US, it's that young people's homelessness. In other communities, it might be as much as something like toxic waste dumping by a company. And so that is the major concern. In Pakistan, we're working with communities where water sanitation is an issue. And, it varies. There are 23 items that our global community is working on. And, we encourage communities not to take on too much, but to really take on something where there can be some success. The other thing is to, look at who's doing wonderful things in our community and then bring them into the conversation. And we have a whole toolbox on our website, and we're available to sit down by Zoom, obviously, to help. We also have cities that could mentor other cities. So that's something that we really want to promote. And what we're trying to do at our end is to give you programs that you do not have to vet. We're doing that, but to try and get programs like C-learning in various parts of your community. We have a healthcare sector. I should have mentioned that we're having a collaboration with Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. We will be having a course that'll start in March on common humanity. and it's especially for healthcare workers. However, we will also be doing one for business and one for educators. So, you know, it's, and finally, I just need to mention that the charter is a sponsor, a co-sponsor of the Parliament of World Religions. And that will be happening in August in Chicago, Illinois, in the US, August 14th to 17th. So we're working hard at putting together workshops for that. But for the first time, what we're going to do is we are going to have interactive workshops, not a one-time, 1 hour or 90-minute flow of information to the audience, but an interactive, we have 3 interactive sessions. One is going to be a 4-day presentation on pro-social spirituality, working with the foundational work of Brother Wayne Teasdale. So that'll be 4 days, but we're going to start it before the Parliament. And we're going to start it online so that when people come to Chicago, they will actually be able to know one another a little. The second thing is Youth Collaborating for Compassion. We will be having at least 2 interactive days where any young person coming to the Parliament will have an opportunity to engage with us, but we're also trying to bring in, getting time release from Chicago Public Schools to bring in secondary students into this dialogue. We'll be using a platform called Cisco WebEx, and it is part of the efforts of crossing borders. You're going to hear a lot more about that because actually tomorrow we're going to do our second vetting of crossing borders. As far as I can see, it's an incredible opportunity online of using a different approach other than what we're used to with Zoom. And it seems to be working really well. So I'm going to stop and see if you have questions, and maybe we can go forward from there. Magdalene.
Could you tell us how Julian Abel's project about compassionate cities here in the UK is working within the Charter for Compassion?
Yes. Over the last year, I have, well, up until I think it was October, Julian and his team decided that they were going to take a little bit of time off. We're coming back together in March. But we met at least once a month to kind of look at the similarities of the Charter for Compassion, which is much broader than the work that Julian's doing. Julian is working in health and well-being, and the Charter, as I explained, is a much broader look at all of the sectors in a community. And so I think that, you know, we continue to share things. We co-sponsored with him a conference last year on health and well-being. We have just recently, because of the Monash situation with the course in Common Humanity, invited Elevate Compassion, which is the name of Julian's, the new name of his organization, into that process. And we'll be having our first meetings again within the next month or so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things about the Charter is we're not looking to start something new. We're looking to work in collaboration with people who are doing extraordinary things and to share those things, you know, either through offering courses or getting the ideas down in the wisdom book so that people can borrow from one another. And by the way, use that map. So you can go to the map of co-creators, and it's a safe map in terms of nobody's going to hack you. We've done a lot of safeguards in it. And you can go in and say, you know, I have this idea, or my organization is doing this. We would love for you to be engaged with us in this work, where you could ask a question. There's a filter on the map, so that if you're in religion or spirituality or the work of interfaith or health and well-being, you can filter out and just find people who have that same passion that you have. You might find that there's somebody down the street from you that has that passion. We were doing a call with Canada, and there was a person in palliative care, and we were introducing the map, and we asked for a volunteer. He volunteered. We put in his data, and then we searched for his name, and just like most maps, you can go in and out, zoom in and out, and he found another person on his street in Canada, in Toronto. I don't know if it was Toronto, Richmond Hills, that was in palliative care. So doing the same, having the same kind of concerns and doing the same kind of work. So the map is a tipping point. Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I forgot to share that for probably 8 or 9 months, I was at Marilyn's invitation, because she had received an invitation, I believe, from a group in the UK that was working on the Interfaith Summit for the Earth.
Yeah.
And so that's been a monthly gathering with people, and sometimes Marilyn's been on it too. But I've been at most of the ones, like once I learned about it. And that they were looking for something either for next year, of the end of this year, or into 24. But at the time, we're thinking of the Dalai Lama, and at the time, Prince Charles. So now that Prince Charles is king, he's probably not going to come to the summit. The Dalai Lama's health and well-being is such that he's probably not going to be able to travel. So the last time we met was in December. We haven't met in January, but that probably would fit under that sector of RISE, religious and interfaith spirituality for the earth. So that's been a compassionate, and that's with people from all over, not just in the UK, but there's been a nice core there. And so, Marilyn, you might want to say more about that, but I forgot to say that, even though that's the one I've been involved in.
Yeah, and David sends his regards. He couldn't make this meeting because he's teaching today. But I think you're right. I think everything needs to refocus on that particular presentation. There, in our conversations, we were also leaning, as we do many times, to include in the voice of the indigenous in the proceedings. Another thing I forgot to mention is February 1 through 7 is World Interfaith Harmony Week. And so we have, from the charter, from our RISE group, we are addressing, Marina, why don't you talk about this, because you've been so involved in it.
I was looking for the link for that. Anyway, I'll put the link in later. But yeah, so we've designed a 7-day, 1-hour meeting where we're going to gather with the different traditions to go through the 7 main energies of the body and how they're all linked to all the religions and all the traditions from around the world. So it's going to be a really, really nice gathering. If you can join us, I'll put the link in there so you can register and read about it, and hopefully you'll be able to join us. And also don't forget to share whatever you see might be interesting for other people as well. So there's that. And there's another thing coming up this Saturday, which I just remembered, and that's what I do have is the Charter for Compassion Sangha, the Compassion Circle. And this is run by Plum Village by, get me the name, please, Marilyn.
Orla O'Sullivan, who
So
is,
many people in my world now. By Orla O'Sullivan.
Orla is the education director of Plum Village, which you know is the village that was started by Thich Nhat Hanh.
Mhm. And so she offers an hour an hour and a half
90
meditation,
minutes. Yeah.
90 minutes meditation on the last Saturday of every month for our community. And for the moment, we have it going on until March, but I'm sure we're going to want to continue with this throughout the year. So I'll be setting up the new dates, but it's always going to be the last Saturday of each month. So you're welcome to join us with that.
You know, I just want to share with you an important point, and Hyacinth probably could speak to this as well. And that is, you know, with each of our sectors, we're always looking for people to come and join in a sector. And that really means to look seriously at the work of the charter. What is it like right now? We have been working very hard to bring on a number of different people in the RISE sector. And so we're also trying to connect our board members to be a part of each sector. So Imam Jamal Rahman, who for people who might know of the work of the three amigos, one is a rabbi, a Protestant minister, and then Jamal, who represents the Muslim faith. So he's on that. We have Karen Bali, who was the former global trustee from the United Religious Initiatives, who's also from London, who's a part of that. So we have a team of like now of about 12 people. And we have a wonderful team of around 18 people who are in education. We want to grow our business team. And that's really one of our next big concerns. One of the other things is that we're doing a series starting later this year on restorative justice practices. And so we're working with the leader of restorative justice in the United States group association, and presenting a couple sessions on understanding the legal nature of restorative justice. And then what we're going to do then is to look at restorative justice practices that are happening in a number of our various cities. So for example, we have Las Vegas, who are trying to do restorative justice practices for youth so that they do not go into detention. That same thing, there's another program in Pomona, California, and they're going to be doing presentations. We have programs in Atlanta, Georgia, program in Corpus Christi in prisons, looking at the issue of restorative justice. And we also have a UK program and one from Canada and one from Ireland. So what we want to do again is to have people experience, so that if you have people who are into restorative justices practices, then you know, when that comes up, please get them involved in this, because you know, it's really important for all of us to collaborate and to try and bring about the best that we can in a community. I know, Charlotte, thank you for putting in that. I will send you the name. I can see the website at this point, but I cannot remember the name of the one in the UK. But
No
we'll
worries,
get to
thank you. Yeah, it's something, I think I've been on something before, but I think it escapes me too, so I'm sure. between us will find it. Thank you.
Okay, I thought I saw another hand or another question.
Claire just asked if she can do something on the 23 days campaign for compassion.
Oh,
So,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely, Claire. If you go to right now to the, is it the 23 days campaign that you're interested in? Or
I think
the,
there was quite a lot that you said that drew my attention, but that popped up as a
yeah, no,
a
that
start
would be fantastic. Yeah, we don't have anything up on that yet because we're like 3 paces ahead of what's going on with 40 days. But
Mhm.
yes, and you know Shane, our education coordinator, I think. Yeah, we'll get him in touch with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Or if you have an idea, you can always just send it over and we can see where it fits in for any of you on this call. It's wonderful to have things to share. And I think Mary Catherine also was going to say something.
Well, I was trying to decide if it was appropriate. It's not related to the UK, but when you were talking about restorative justice and the different places that had good practice, I'm aware that because I come from Omaha, Nebraska, there's a Tri-Faith initiative there that's been going on for a number of years, and they're holding a conference in early June in collaboration with Religious Studies, and it's all on social justice.
Oh, great.
Multi-faith and social justice, and it makes me think of the restorative thing. So I had been thinking, okay, would that be a good time to be back in the United States? But it isn't just whether I did anything or not, but I was thinking of the compassion perspective they're looking for proposals right now. So if you're interested, go to their website, Tri-Faith Initiative. I think it's trifaith.org.
Yeah.
And maybe even tell your restorative justice person. But anyway, that's something I've been thinking about, but I think listening to you, that would be a great thing to make it connected to the charter.
Okay, yeah, I will. Michael Gilbert is the person, I'm just writing his name. I think you can Google him. Michael is the head of the Restorative Justice professional organization. He is in Austin, Texas, at the University of Texas. He's an emeritus there. But he knows the law, and that's one of the first things that we want to look at. We want to look at the law in the UK, the United States, Canada, and as much international law, because that's what sets back a community when they don't understand what the possibilities are for bringing forth restorative practices. And I know that several of our communities have been really stopped in trying to pull together programs, especially for youth, because unfortunately, it's easier to put a youth in detention than it is to go through the mentoring system and trying to solve problems in that way. And I mean, it's been wonderful to see what has been happening in the prison system. It's been long for the person's name is Cliff Kucha, who is from our compassionate community in Corpus Christi. I think he's been at this for 8 years, and it is only now, after 8 years, that he is getting to a point where people are listening to him and understanding what the possibilities of restorative justice are. So just like it takes a long time to build a compassionate city or community, all of these things do take time, but they also take the effort of many people. You cannot pull together a compassionate city with just a couple people. You really need, it's kind of like, the saying, It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to bring forth a compassionate community. And you need to find the advocates in local government, but also knowing that there's a possibility that those people will be gone because they have to be elected. And oftentimes, you know, if you're working at the top and you have somebody who's a true advocate and they do not get reelected to that position, you have to start all over again. So the power of a compassionate community is in the grassroots. Magdalene.
Yes, I was just wondering about Frank Liddy in Belfast and whether he can be involved in this as well.
He's always invited. And you know, there's the thing about the drummer that, you know, some of us follow the beat of the drum, and Frank is always creating another sound. I have talked with him a number of times recently. He's retiring from what he's been doing, and he has a lot of new enthusiasm for continuing his work in Belfast. And we've had this talk about the fact that we need to a certain extent, we need to start over in Belfast. I mean, he has done incredible work. Many people from his team are still not there. I mean, they have kind of dropped out. So he needs to really build his team again. But he, being frank, he has lots of ideas. But he's, well.
And was Jimmy invited as well?
Oh, yeah. And actually,
I haven't had time to get in touch with him, actually, but I
I
will.
met with Jimmy just a few days ago. I'm just trying to think, what day is it today? It must have been last week. But one of the things, because of C-Learning, we're working very closely with Jimmy because, you know, he is the person in the UK with C-Learning. So he's very much involved in this 5-part series that we'll be having as well. So he's doing well.
I'll get in touch with him, I think. Yeah. But then there's a little conflict because I'm also in contact, or maybe it's not conflict, with Think Equal and Leslie Udwin, who's also approaching Oxfordshire's primary schools.
Yeah. We have a meeting next week with Leslie and with Ryder Delacourt, who is the new ED of the C-Learning, because the charter is trying to broker a memo of understanding between Think Equal and C-Learning.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, because of the fact that they haven't talked with one another because there's been a change of leadership in C-Learning from Brendan Osawa to Ryder. And so, we will work hard to do this because C-Learning initially was committed to K through 12. Leslie was committed in the beginning from 3 to 6, but to continue to go beyond 6-year-olds. And so we did get a memo of understanding, but it was not between Think Equal, but it was between Think Equal and CIT. And so now we need to get a memo of understanding so that C-Learning has been thinking about dipping down in age, and Leslie has actually stopped. She is only going to be concerned with 3 to 6-year-olds and also with parents. So hopefully that's going to happen. So there should be no conflict.
Good.
Or at least we say in our heads, there will be no conflict.
Mm.
Because you figure that's an incredible investment on both organizations' parts
Yeah.
to try and change, you know, their thinking to include other age groups.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm looking at the time, and we just have a few more minutes. But please, please, every one of you, try and get a number of people on that map, and then use it. Use the map just to contact people. A little note of encouragement of areas in which they're interested, but you know, do explore with people and build your community. I mean, for me, Claire, I don't know how you felt on Saturday, but I thought it was really wonderful. You know, there were, I think, initially in the meditation part, like around 150 people or so. And then for the conversation, it dropped, but it was just really lovely. You know, to
Just shows the power of the collaboration, doesn't it? And coming together with the same sort of intention and purpose. And you know, obviously the guys running it, everybody, you know, it's all with the best intentions at heart. And yeah, just that feeling of that community and knowing that there's so many other people out there wanting that good is really powerful. It's lovely
Yeah.
to be part of.
It really was. And Derek, I'm wondering if there is something that the charter can do to foster a new line of communication. Up, your mic is off.
Yeah, I'll have to go away and talk and think about what I've heard today, and look at your website again and put it all in context. But it's been very, very useful to see how things have developed and all of the various collaborations and partnerships.
Great. Yeah, we look forward to, you know, continuing a conversation. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Justine, any thoughts from your end before we close?
So I'm a school teacher, so I'm very interested in the SEO learning. And I'm also going to put my organization on the map. I've just set up Compassion Cambridge, and I'm going to be organizing retreats for leaders on compassion. So you'll hear from me
Okay,
in due
good.
course about that.
Very good. Well, thank you all for coming. And I know there might have been others who signed up, so they'll be getting the recording of this session. And it's just a way for us to, you know, keep up. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
And we should be meeting again in about a month, I think, is it, Marilyn?
Yeah.
So I'll be sending new invitations out. Keep an eye out for them. And invite others to join us.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.